All right, we're just gonna get into this one quick. Sant'Angelo has places to be.
Oh,
Let's just get that up there. Milan draw against Lecce. The worst first half of the season. First half of the season for
mm,
sure by far. I don't even think this was close. It should have been 3-4-0. Probably even five. To be honest with you, Lecce missed plenty of chances.
mm,
But first, we'll start with the Kalulu part. Horrendous mistake made, led to an own goal by Teo Hernandez. And then again, once again, Milan concede
yeah,
on a set piece. They go down 2-0. Substitutes made at the half. Teo came on. Milan eventually come back, get 2 goals, Calabria and Rafael Leao. They don't get 3 points, which they needed, which they had
mm,
to get. And then again, further confirming this Scudetto is no more. I think people should understand that. They need to understand that. As far as things go for Milan, they gained a point on Juve. If you want to
mm,
look at some of the silver linings within this, really poor. This type of play cannot continue for much longer. Really puzzling substitutions when it comes to Stefano Pioli, Matt, in my opinion. Um, yeah, I don't know. You can't have the same defensive lineup in the Super Cup. You just can't. You have to change something.
you have to change
There
something.
has to be. There has to be. They're conceding every game, and they're conceding multiple goals, and they're getting outplayed. I think the absence of Tonali was massive tonight. I think that was so obvious.
Yeah.
With the lack of partner for Benacer, Pobega was very poor in this one. And let's call a spade a spade. It's been a really bad start to 2023. If you're Milan, they have not done a good job of securing points that they should have. This was, again, more points left on the table. You see the 2-2 result twice now in the past two Serie A games. It's points left on the table, and they're coming from set pieces. The past 4 goals are 3 set pieces conceded, and then an own goal. I mean, come on. And then if not even talking about the one against Torino,
Mhm.
it's been pathetic. I'm not taking away anything positive from this.
No, no. I mean, I think the fact that it takes you being down 2-0 away to Lecce, who are newly promoted, and no disrespect to them, they won the Serie B title last year.
This is incorrect, by the way, Dappy.
Um,
He said they won't invest. Not that they don't need to, but go ahead,
uh,
man.
um, no disrespect to Lecce. They've been playing well. They've been playing pretty well. They're no lay down team. And that's kind of been what we've seen from a lot of the newly promoted sides. I don't know if you've picked up on that too, but Monza, after a very difficult start, sacked their coach. They're, I think, in the top 10 now. They might be in ninth, if I'm correct. I don't know how it shakes up after the results, right? But
I could get
newly
that for you in
promoted
a
teams
second.
are a little bit better this year. There's no teams and there's no matches that you could look on paper and say they're going to walk right through them. These teams play tough. Like Lecce came to play, they were and they took advantage of the mistakes, and they to your point, they could have had 4 or 5
Mm.
if it wasn't for a little bit more sharper finishing in the first half. The fact that it took Milan being down 2-0 at half to come to life and to step out and do something tells you everything you need to know about where this team is mentally. Um, they're not on it right now. They're slower to the 50-50 ball. They're slower to react. I don't know what it is, man. There's just something about this team that, look, last year they in the games where they maybe weren't playing their best, or the team they were coming up against was there to play, they would still find a way to just like claw and get these wins.
Yeah.
It wasn't perfect, and you sometimes need those throughout a course of a season, but they've had too many of these results this year, that it's really alarming, and it's really worrisome about what's to come the rest of the season, the second half of the season. When we're speaking about the top 4 chase, right? Because I think it's going to be more competitive. They haven't done themselves any favors. They do have the injuries. That's what
Injuries don't matter. Yeah,
no,
injuries
no,
are
no.
yeah, I know, I know.
When it comes down to when you kind of throw everything to the pot, again, the margins are fine. They're not getting these wins. Last year, they got these wins. They would start maybe down 1-0, then it would 1-1, and then they would get a
Hmm.
winner. And I was like, okay, like, yeah, chalk it up. It's a shitty performance, move on. And then they would find a way to bounce back.
Yeah.
They're not bouncing back. Like, this was the perfect bounce back game that you needed, right? From a opponent standpoint. You lost the points that you should have had fully against Roma. You had the opportunity against Torino. You spoiled it. You played like shit. And then you have this game where you have to win because you have to start picking up momentum
Hmm.
point, and they haven't done it, and that's the most disappointing thing. throughout all of this. Yeah, there really isn't many takeaways from this. I don't know the expectation if I'm looking ahead towards the Super Copa, because I think like that's really all we can kind of look forward to is the next game and what we could ultimately hope to get from that. Um, Maybe we get some different guys in there, and this is a reality check for players who think that their job is safe and that they're not going to be benched, and have someone else to take their job for a bit. Maybe we see Tomori, Malik Chow. Maybe we see Kyer start against Inter in the Super Cup. Who knows? But the defense has been pretty poor. I don't know how many clean sheets. I don't even remember the last clean sheet we actually have.
I think it was against Cremonese where it was 0-0.
We tied that game. We didn't even win that game. We tied that game.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show you how poorly things have been in 2023. Yes, that you just mentioned. But this has been boiling over for weeks preceding the World Cup break. This was the Cremonese game, the Fiorentina game, like games that like we just haven't been playing good at all. Injuries or not, there's no excuse. When you're a champion, you have to be more accountable. You have to play with a little bit more, I guess, command of a game. Milan haven't commanded a game in a very long time, where from the onset they get a goal.
Just Salzburg.
Chasing. It's always chasing now. And that's the concerning thing. They very well should have had probably a loss in this match.
For sure.
Absolutely. Like they should have had a loss in this match. They're lucky. You can call the 2 goals they scored, whatever the case may be. Leao, a nice finish. He's really the only guy that you see that feels like he's able to do something, right? He could be quiet for a whole game and he could score, but the rest of this attack, the rest of this team, it seems soulless. It seems lifeless at times, and that does come down to the coach. And yes, players have to be held accountable. This is their job. They have a reputation now as title winners, so they have to kind of live up to that. But just slow. The energy's not there, and it's just really, really a poor result in this one.
Yeah, honestly, the overall critique of Pioli, I don't necessarily agree with, but I do think that at a certain point, these substitutes have been really poor for a little bit now. And then on top of it, I mean, the defense is on everybody. I got Menez, great friend of ours, telling me that like today was about individual errors. Everybody can take blame for whatever. Pioli's to blame for the Torino 100%. Like that's no doubt about that. But he has to rotate players. Still no excuse for what we saw. Today's subs very weird. To me,
taking off Teo Hernandez. I mean,
no CDK in this was just weird to me.
I guess maybe he played the full game during the week. I mean,
a couple of players.
That much this season, though, he hasn't played that much this season. He's 21 years old. Like this, wouldn't this be the game to put him on for 45 minutes?
No. Yeah, 100%. Listen, they're gonna have to figure this out. There's obviously gonna be no investments. It's just gonna be extensions and pretty much work with that. But I will tell you this right now: this team, okay, the midfield, like they have to do business in the midfield. There has to be something. You can't. This is not enough. I know they're probably gonna just say when Krunic comes back, it'll be better. I can't do this. I genuinely can't. I can't. I can't see this thing. Calabria giving me a heart attack with a foul right outside of the box. Overall, it's just shaky. Try Chow at center back. Put Kalulu out wide.
There's try Kier. There's nothing you can lean on and say right now.
It's just
this is no indictment. Like the midfield is usually that's usually the foundation of this team. Like you have Benacer, Tonali, who are usually as steady as they come. When you take out Tonali, like this is what this team is down to, right? The depth is so minimal after a lack of investment in the summer, yes, but also the injuries. Where you take one guy out, and it's just like everything is just jagged. It's like even the midfield. I know Benacer had moments at the end, but like he can't do everything. There's nothing you can lean on right now where you can say, hey, you know what? We're defending pretty poorly, but man, we're scoring. We're burying our chances. Like Atalanta for all these years, right? For all the pressing and going forward where they score goals, they're able to score enough goals to overcome anything defensively that they leave exposed. We're not able to do that. We're not able to really lean on anything right now. No. So you can't say, hey, you know what? If we get up 1-0, we can use that midfield. We can control the game, control the tempo, suck the air out of the ball, and move out of here with a 1-0 win. We can't do that even. And I think that's credit to the teams, though, because these teams are not afraid to play to Milan now. The way Lecce played today, that's a perfect blueprint that these teams should be playing against Milan. They play quick, they play sharp. Even when Milan were going forward, they're swinging balls out wide and they're going and they're pushing guys forward. So with the way that Milan's defense is playing right now, that is the recipe to beat them. Easy. This makes it very concerning going into the Supercopa, because if this is what we're going to get, I can really truly see Inter having a field day on our defense. That's what I feel like can happen. And they're not even playing in the best form, but they got the guys to do it. They got Lautaro.
I don't even know if Lukaku's 100% for that one, but either way, Dzeko aerially,
in the air, like
Lautaro is pressing. Yeah, I don't see that, but I'm more concerned with the Lazio match.
Yeah, that's too.
That one's the one that bothered me. Benacer picked up another yellow today, so again, we're gonna have to look towards Tonali and whoever when that happens. But I'm supposed to believe that I think it depending on how or when Benacer gets his yellow, I think he has one more and then he's suspended, or did he already get a suspension? Either way, listen. Somewhat of a silver lining. We have to hope Verona does something today. I think Inter will win easily. They should. I think Roma play Fiorentina. Lazio don't play a tough one. And to your answer, Monza is 11th. But again, hey man, Lecce results against Milan and Lazio this season draws. I think they beat Lazio, excuse me.
Yeah, they beat Lazio.
So again, I mean, not the easiest of teams. Do you think the summer market will be different? Dappy, I genuinely have no idea. There's nobody knows anything with Redbird outside of the point that they're not going to be spending in January, and it's just really extensions, and that's as far as we know. I think top 4 qualification is massive. It's everything.
Summer's kind of irrelevant now, is it not? Though, like we have to, like we're in January now.
I know. I think what he is saying is he's looking past this season, and it's just we're probably going to finish top 4. The only trophy we have is the one we play this week coming up, and that's that. I mean, we should be fortunate or happy that it's anything past in the Champions League, past the round of 16 into the quarterfinals. Listen. Elliot was spending somewhat when they were able to. This Redbird stuff is it's radio silence. That's nobody knows anything. I mean, at this point, your season is win this trophy against Inter, because the trophy's a trophy.
Finish top 4,
and then finish top 4,
and maybe hope. I mean, listen,
no.
They're not doing anything. I don't think the way they're playing right now, especially the timing of it, that they're not going to move.
It's going to be an all-time low moment versus Spurs, just because it's Spurs to lose against. I think Conte is this is what's going to happen with Spurs. Spurs are going to have this trophyless season. And the biggest thing about their season is beating us, because we're a big club, and advancing to the quarterfinals and getting knocked out in the quarterfinals. Yeah. That's what's going to happen. That's everything for Spurs. For us, we're happy to be there. We can't financially compete with any of this. We just can't.
As you see Chelsea just getting another
Mudryk for $100 million.
And even if people wonder why or how we can't progress this project forward or accelerate the timing of this project to get to a different level.
We can't.
It's not the same. It's at all. Like, no offense, guys, but everyone's saying that, we should have done this, or we should have done that more to Chelsea. It's like you could see how quickly they just snap up $100 million player like that in January. We don't have the capacity, or at least I don't think we do, or at least the club's not in a position.
They're just not like, and we said this before the World Cup even started when we were talking. I think it was just on State of Play, and we're saying they're not going to do anything unless they do something in January, and they're not going to, and we know that already.
They're just going to use it they're going to use the whole
injury stuff and the returning players as their reason.
Like Galliani used to use years ago.
Yeah. It's like a new signing. I'm sorry we can't get 20 million for a player. I'm a patient person. I'm very patient. Okay? I get shit for being patient. Okay? And saying, like, let it play out. Yeah. There was a worked in reason over the summer for Redbird. They didn't own the team.
Right.
It came in late.
Now
We got extensions, nice, but we have to raise the level. This is Milan. This isn't Toulouse. This isn't whatever club you want to think about. This is still one of the biggest clubs in the world.
Yeah.
You have to invest eventually. I'm just saying you have to pony it up. And what
I
I said in the chat, if anything less than 50 million this summer is a failure. That's a failure for Pioli. It's a failure for management. It's a failure for a lot of things. There's no excuse. You made it 3 years in a row now to the Champions League. I'm sorry, at some point, man. At some point, extensions are nice. You raise the level of play, but we're a global giant. Can we act like it soon enough? I understand the FSG way of doing things, but that's with Premier League TV money. It's different. They own Anfield. They have income from there. We don't own a stadium. I know they invested a lot of money, and I know Maldini wanted to meet Jerry Cardinale because he wanted to know what the future outlook of this club was. And Maldini decided to stay. Moncada decided to stay. And Masada. All these guys decided to stay for a reason. I better hope to see that reason, is what I'm saying. Because if not, then this is just a team that enters the Champions League, what Roma and Napoli were years ago, where
is that just a happy to be here type team.
It's and that's not what this club is or should ever be about. And I'm not saying that's what they'll do, but I'm saying eventually I need to see it because I've been more than patient.
Otherwise it's a waste. Otherwise these extensions are kind of a waste because it's like
I'm not asking for 200 million.
No, and
I'm not asking for
the frustrating thing. Like if Milan would have spent 70 million instead of 50 million last summer, can you imagine like another 20 million on like another winger? Like,
but that's what I'm saying. Give me 70 to 80 million, man. We did pony up for Charlotte, right? So it's not there. They do it like we have to.
The thing that's the issue with this, and it's you could probably attest to this as a Mets fan. It's like you like with the Mets, right? Just you obviously know this, but for those who are listening who are not familiar with the situation, the Mets lost 3 pitchers, right?
Yeah.
And they got 3 pitchers. They re-signed their closer, but it's like that's great. But you didn't add anybody.
Yeah.
Like Milan haven't added anybody that's made a noticeable impact. They were hoping it would be CDK, and that's what we're hoping down the stretch, the second half of the season.
They lost 2 above average.
All these renewals are great. They're all great, but they're all players we already had already. So that's the frustrating thing. You look at we renewed this guy, we renewed that guy, and they're important, but we didn't add anybody. We didn't go out there and add, hey, you know what, CDK, winger, or fullback, or whatever. We didn't do that. So as far as I'm concerned, this is literally the same team as last year, but
without 2 major,
with just more injuries.
Well, Kessie and Romagnoli are proving to be big losses. I think Romagnoli has been proven to be the biggest loss out of the 2. I was saying and thinking that I understood where the club was coming from with offering him a certain amount of money, and he wanted more money than we thought he was worth. And I still think he's a Lazio level type of player. I think he's a 3rd choice Milan center back.
The way he plays, where he's able to sit back and just play in a low block, and
he was so calm on the ball.
That's kind of what we need. His size was big, and I know that people would give him shit and for some of the performances he had and all that stuff, and I get that, but like we lack right now with I guess the closest thing you have to that is like a Simon Kjaer, and he's always injured, and he's
in his final year.
So that's the thing. But and here's another thing too. Any other serious club, when they win a title, you know what they would have done? They would have not compromised on Botman for CDK or compromised on CDK for Botman. They would have got both.
Well, again, that's the ownership thing. There wasn't 70 million.
That's what I'm saying. But that's what I'm saying. Like Botman, like there was no one over the other because we did need someone in the position that we have CDK in.
We needed both. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
But we also did need another central defender because you're looking at the team. You just lost Romagnoli. Kjaer's always injured. You bring in Malik Chauza, who's a project player that you has potential, but he's still young. So you did need a CB. You did need another central defender.
Of course, but you know how the timelines go, and people want to get mad at me and they want to give me shit for all that. But again, if you would have, and Chow was the addition at center back. Okay, that's everybody knows that, and that was the one for the future. So everybody with a brain would know that was the move. They said we pony up for the guy up top because we need more goals, and then we're gonna have a project, right? In Chow, who played at Schalke in Bundesliga as our center back, who Dan mentioned again, and everyone knows he's better in the air. We've seen him help us see out a game this season. Hasn't gotten another chance since. But with that, it's like if they would have bought Botman, okay, and they invest in a player that costs the same amount as Milik Chow, they would have lost their fucking minds. Because they would have said, there's 8 million on the table. We should have got the guy who's now at Leeds in the Premier League doing whatever. This is how they work. This is how the logic always goes with these people. Because they want one thing instead of looking at both.
People saying, why couldn't we got Kvaratskhelia for 10 million? You know what fans would have been saying? Really? We're not going to get an actual real player at right wing? We're going to get a guy from Russia? That's what fans would have been saying.
He wouldn't even have been on the right.
Very few people knew who he was. They maybe heard of him, but you know what it is? They would have downplayed the move because he came from a nothing league. That's what people would have said. 100%. And to your point, before we had the game here, we did our pre-match show. That's an outlier. That's the one-off. If Napoli got him for 10 million and he was nothing, people would have said, they punted on him. They took a chance.
Yeah, go show me another player like that for 10 million immediately producing. But you're full of shit if you are.
The fact that he's thriving in another situation at Napoli, why couldn't we get him?
And you know what was funny?
Interesting too. People don't look at the guys that Milan pass on that they prove to be right on, right? We shouldn't have sold Suso. They got a pretty decent buck back for that. That was
Favier from Brest.
Favier, what's he doing? People are like, oh, we should have just ponied up. We should have just got him.
I was telling him about.
Is he tearing it up at Lyon? I don't think so.
I told Miguel Hauge apologists. Hauge is now in Belgium. He has 2 assists and he's done nothing. He got loaned out from Frankfurt. They made money on it. I think what's really funny is though too they were linked to Kvara before they knew for sure what Rafael Leao was. Rafael Leao's second season was inconsistent. There were some signs there, but there were also some question marks.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, hey, should we move on? Do we give him another year? In reality, last year was kind of like a make or break year for him in that sense. It was 3 years in at the club. He was really getting inconsistent with his starting, but then he just started taking over. He really did, and he was fantastic. And it was awesome to see that because he's such a talented player. And that's why they didn't end up getting Kvara, because it's like, why are we spending 10 million when we can go get a proven player like Origi? Guys like Origi not stepping up. But we know what it is. They just have to win games. Simple as. And Pioli has to change stuff. He's not at fault, but I'm not going to sit here and say at the same time he's awful and he needs to go. I think there's certain things that have been reactionary and other things that haven't. But again, it's a bigger underlying issue.
I think too, and this is really all I have to. If we're
and then we'll wrap up here.
If we're briefly going to chat on the Supercopa game and what we can hopefully expect from like a rotation standpoint or changes. Here's how the framework for and the mentality is and mindset that Milan fans have, right? So they're going to see this game against Lecce, right? And they're going to see the run of games that Milan have had up until this point and say, Pioli needs to change something. It's not working. Why the hell isn't he changing anything? So you know what he's going to do? He's going to change something, maybe 1 or 2 players. It may not go well. And then people are going to say, well, why'd you use a Supercopa against Inter to make changes, right? That's what people are going to say if it doesn't go well. That I just think that's kind of a more so like a fan perspective that people aren't really like realistic with what they want and their expectations of how things go. Because if he stays with the same team and it does well, people are going to say, you know what, credit for Pioli, he ran out the same team. We got a trophy because of it, right? But if he makes changes and it backfires, people are going to say, out of all games, you used a cup final against your rival to make changes. So
because they're stupid people.
Which way do you want it? Right, because I agree that there has to be changes, but if you're going to tell me, hey, you know what, Martino, we're actually going to bench Kalulu for this game, and we're going to put Malik Chow in there. Say Malik Chow gives away 2.
I would be okay with Kier if they want Kier in there with Tomori
or Kier. You know what I'm saying?
There goes Sant'Angelo's camera randomly. Should
no, but you know what I'm saying? Like that's what the mindset is. So I mean, look, for this game, here's what I want to say. I just want to see overall better football. I'm not calling out one player over the other,
Mhm.
saying this, saying that. I want this trophy, but I want
Mhm.
to play well. If Milan play well and they look like they're turning a new leaf and they're going to be back into a good form, but it comes and they don't win the game, I'll be like, yo, it sucks because I want this trophy, but they need to play better. The collective effort needs to be there because it's not
Yep.
just a singular player issue. There's a lot of players that aren't playing well. It's a top to bottom thing here. This isn't a everyone's playing well, but Salamaker sucks, or
Hmm.
everyone's doing okay or playing pretty well up to their level or expectation, but Tatu Rusanu is terrible in goal.
Yeah.
Top to bottom, like top to
Yeah.
bottom, though the collective result and collective performance hasn't been there. Something needs to change, and if you can't change it in a cup final against your rival, then I just don't know when it's going to change. Is it Lazio? Is it Sassuolo? Is it? I don't know. I don't know where we're going to turn from here.
Real quick before we go, Bibletron on Twitter as a comment replied to AC Milan Bush. How much would 4-3-3 temporary band-aid fix the midfield woes? It won't for the time being because there's no depth, and our weakest depth area, in my opinion, at this rate is midfield. And the drop off between the two starters and the reserves is massive, and playing more of those guys
You got to play less
could
midfielders.
prove to be problematic. So I think the double pivot is working. But again, it's a bunch of like defensive stuff. I think they need to get more of a defender more of a midfielder like Kessie. Well, I mean, we'll see what happens. Again, this is what happens when you go after guys that are projects. This happens. Man of the match. There's no one for me. Leao, if you want to give it to him, Benacer, whatever. Doesn't matter to me. I think it's a hopeless award. But that's about it. Appreciate everyone tuning in. I know it's been rough for Milan recently, but again,
of course we start this reboot, and it's like we're not.
They won the
well.
Scudetto without doing anything.
Yeah.
Dade says
Probably.
probably.
But
But hey, man, we'll just say it is because you said that. You were the only one who commented. So Benacer it
there
is.
you go.
Signed, sealed, and delivered. Appreciate you tuning in, by the way. Karina, I saw you in here. Thank you, friend of mine. Dappy, Nick S. I don't know if that's your brother.
No.
It's a YouTube comment. Andre Gibson on YouTube. Appreciate that. New comments. Sabrina as well. Thanks, Sabrina. Thank God your son will not remember today.
Yeah.
Thank
I don't know
God.
what's going on in these matches.
He won't remember this. It is Nick. It is your brother.
Oh,
he's just watching on YouTube. Nick is all over the place. He watches it on Twitch, watches on YouTube.
He's got all the platforms.
Yes, and also Nick, I'm glad your son does not remember today as well.
Yeah, you just
your nephew.
Cover his eyes. Just cover his eyes. Just
hey, great kid. Yeah, but we'll try and figure out something midweek to do with Super Cup. Which Nick says he's everywhere. I wouldn't say that on the internet, but again. Appreciate you. Appreciate Sabrina. Guys, please enjoy your weekend. Hopefully warm weather is on the way wherever you are, unless you are at the store. Gotcha.
wow.
Wherever you are, hopefully it gets better. But it's nothing too down to get about. But again, stay tuned for the Super Copa stuff. Again, if you missed everything, you missed part of the show, you can go and watch it on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Full episodes are on there. Just go under my live streams on Martino Puccio.
Please subscribe, guys. Please subscribe. Leave some comments. Like the videos. It's still new. It's still fresh. With this,
we're gonna get more shit and graphics in here as soon as we can.
We're gonna need the support and backing to help get this out to as many people as possible, but also invite a lot of people into this community that we're hoping to build. So, any support you guys can give us on the platforms that Martino just mentioned would be greatly appreciated. And thank you guys for tuning in.
Our Twitter is carrying the load for now, but appreciate you guys. Talk later. Bye.